Welcome back to another PFF short. We are sticking to the quarterbacks theme here once again. I'm joined by Mr. John Cosco, our quarterback charting guru, and I am the ACC analyst, John Breitenbach. Next up today, we're talking about Pitt Panthers quarterback Nate Peterman. John, do you see Peterman as this year's mid-round quarterback who comes in and starts surprisingly for a franchise?
Yeah, this is a guy that I really like, and I wasn't expecting much from him when I initially started taking a look at his tape. He doesn't wow in any area. He's not a big quarterback. He doesn't have a cannon. So he doesn't have that quote unquote prototypical look. But what I think he does provide is high instincts and smarts for a quarterback. He can read the defenses extremely well. He's arguably the best at it at this point in his career already. So he's somebody that if, I would still like to see any rookie quarterback sit a year and develop when they get to the NFL. But if you needed him to start early on in his career and as a rookie, he could do that. And that's because he's able to read defenses, complex defenses, going through complex progressions and reads. And he does so with accuracy. Pitt had this gimmicky offense with their shovel passes and their screen games. But when he was asked to actually make NFL throws, he was able to do so, and did so extremely well. He had, some of the best numbers throwing to the intermediate level and deep. And, he's a guy that I really wasn't expecting to like when I started watching him, and he quietly wows.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You mentioned the sort of gimmicky nature of the offense, but within that it is pro style. He did run a significant amount of plays from under center, a lot of heavy play action, deep shots. But then the Pittsburgh offense would frequently find themselves in a bit of a hole because of the state of that secondary, and they would throw all that out the window, come out in shotgun, full wide receiver looks. And even despite being forced to attack from behind, Peterman was able to successfully lead a number of comebacks for the Panthers. He made a number of big-time throws. You've mentioned there how well he throws down the field. He's not necessarily perfect on those fades, but he puts it in a position where he's able to allow his guy to make a play. And I like some of those stick throws that you also mentioned in the intermediate range. He's able to put heat on it when he needs to, and he understands leverage. He knows how to throw a receiver away from coverage, and that's one element of his game that I really like.
You're right. He has a good sense of where the entire defense is and able to put it into, zone holes, the cover two hole between the corner and the safety on corner routes and quick back shoulder throws if that's where it needs to be. But yeah, he doesn't have, the ideal arm strength, but I think what he can do is, any quarterback can develop their arm strength with better coaching at the next level and just getting older and stronger. But he anticipates windows opening really, really well. And he shows consistent and good mechanics. Not really much there that needs to be cleaned up for that. So he's a guy that, I would be very happy to draft either late day 2, back into the third round, or even, if he just somehow fall in day 3. I think that's a guy that you'd find as a steal. I don't want to compare and say this would be the next Dak Prescott, but he's a guy that could play in a system like that and succeed. And, he makes a lot of big time throws. He actually ranks first in the draft class on the percentage of big time throws. He does tend to throw some, turnover worthy plays, but I think, when you pair that with some really impressive downfield throws, there's something there. And he graded really well. And like I said, on intermediate and deep throws, while also showing the good ball placement on those as well. So, this is a guy that I think the draft community is starting to come up on. I see a lot of tweets on him about, him being a sneaky good pick in the mid round. So, his stock is rising, and for good reason.
Yeah, I think you made a number of fair points there as well. I do think that potentially he could improve his arm strength, which, as you mentioned, at the moment perhaps is not that great. I saw a couple of throws he made off an awkward platform where he was able to still drive it into tight windows, which he managed to challenge throughout the year, I would say. I think if he can tighten up his footwork a little bit, he doesn't tend to use his front foot as effectively as I think he could, especially with a clean pocket. So there are elements there that I feel like could be improved. A couple of other areas that he needs to work on, I think it's that short accuracy that perhaps he'll need to develop in order to succeed over the long term in the NFL. You've just got to be able to make those regulation plays on a frequent basis. And he also, as you mentioned, he needs to understand when the player's gone and when to simply throw the ball away. There are a couple of his picks last year where he was forced off the spot and he ends up trying to fit a ball in, which just isn't there. Any of those concerns that you noticed?
Yeah, definitely. When we do our charting, he showed some of the best, at 11 yards and plus down the field. But what was interesting is that he was mediocre at behind the line of scrimmage, balls, and also from 6 to 10 yards. So basically the chain moving or just a drive moving, short throws that you need to be able to make, he wasn't very accurate on those. And I think, obviously he has the accuracy downfield. He should be able to develop that short. And you're right. He does have, when he gets pressure on him, he tends to lose a little bit of his poise, and becomes a little bit inconsistent with decision making. And his feet can get a little bit frenetic when facing that pressure. So, and those are the reasons, being able to make those types of throws, being able to handle that type of pressure, you need to be able to do that at the next level and do it well. So he definitely has lots of room for improvement in that. So yeah, I mean, this is a guy that needs development but as a mid-round pick, I mean, I don't think you can get anybody better than him, especially in this draft class.
Yeah, I'm agreed with you there. And even if he isn't quite able to fix these minor issues, if there's a guy you can rely on to be one of the top backup quarterbacks in the league to win you a game or two when your starter's out, then that has value. I think we tend to think that, especially in maybe this class where there's a lot of defensive depth, perhaps a late day 2, early day 3 pick is wasted on a guy who is really likely to be there only in case of emergency. But I think there are also a number of quarterback situations around the league where he might not be instantly expected to be the starter, but that if he can put pressure on the guy at number 1, then that has really high value to a franchise.
Yeah, exactly. At worst, he's a backup quarterback that can play when you need him to. If you were to be, say, drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, where obviously they don't need a starter, but Ben Roethlisberger does get injured basically every single year, he's a guy that would be able to play a few games and win you those games much better and be a better quarterback than what Landry Jones is. But if you needed them, if the Browns were to take them in the mid rounds, obviously Cody Kessler is not quite proven yet, and obviously Brock Osweiler is not a NFL quarterback. At best is a backup. He would be able to push for a starting position there. So that's the type of range he'd be at, where anywhere from just a spot starter to a potential competing for a starting spot. And I think either situation for him is fine. I think he'd be able to handle either one.
Yeah, I agree, John. That has been our podcast short today on Nate Peterman, a guy we both like and has a future in some capacity at the NFL level. Just to plug a few things quickly, the Draft Pass has received its 3rd update. That is something that you must have in preparation for that night in Philadelphia. So much great content in there, so many great stats and scouting reports. This has been our short on Nate Peterman. Join us again soon.